Hello everyone, thank you for joining us today in this online course, Wine Tasting, Appreciation and Analysis. My name is Leonor Sosa. I am a sommelier from Chile. I live in Punta del Este, Uruguay, and today we are with Valentina Vidal from Argentina. She is also sommelier, and now she's in Cordoba, Argentina, and I hope everybody is watching this webinar with a glass of wine in order to enjoy the class. So Valentina, please go ahead.
Thank you, Leonor, for your presentation and welcome everyone. It's a pleasure being here, perform about wine. So, before we start with the main topic, I would like to talk about identify a wine in a blind tasting. This is an exercise that most of wine professionals do to improve their tasting skills. Okay, the purpose is to remove any bias the taster may have toward a wine and allows them to show that they can evaluate that wine accurately and objectively. In other words, tasting blind allows sommeliers to show whether they truly understand a wine. So, how is it? The technique involves denying taster the ability to see the wine label or wine bottle shape. It requires a good illuminated room, a quiet space, without noise and odors. Another question that I would like to respond is what is sensory evaluation? Sensory evaluation is a scientific discipline that is used to measure and analyze people's response to products as perceived through the five senses: sight, smell, touch, taste, and sound. In food and beverage companies, sensory evaluation of products can provide an understanding of the key sensory properties that drive consumer acceptability. So, all of this is a personal process. Every person on this planet is unique, so everyone has different perception about wine. We could agree with some things about the taste, the smell, or anything else, but the process of tasting is a personal process. The relationship between the wine depends on you, where you live, what is your culture, on which kind of food do you usually eat, etc. It's your own experience and no one else can deny that.
Our olfactory memory is tied to internal images. That means that we associate the images to a concrete memory. So I put this coffee cup here, so probably you will remember the coffee from this morning or else. So we are not used to train our sense of smell, even if it's connected to the internal part of the brain. And we don't decipher in a rational way initially, but this is going to the part where we evoke memories. So it's very important that we humans remember 5% of what we see, 2% of what we hear, 15% of what we taste, and 35% of what we smell. So let's take a little exercise to understand a little bit more. So let's think. Visualize and here an orange, then some strawberry jam, some raisins. So this three stuff. Okay, just a few seconds. And now, how was it? I mean, what was associated? So, are you picking an orange from a tree or peeling it? Are you making jam or spreading it on a bread? The raisins are on a pudding or as a snack?
Okay, synesthesia. Synesthesia plays an important role during a wine appreciation and analysis because it is a 360 degrees experience. We connect our senses with the product and we enjoy it overall. But what is synesthesia? Synesthesia is the production of a sense impression relating to one sense or part of the body by stimulation of another sense or part of the body. Here I have two examples. First one on the left is the Gran Siesta adobo that its packaging involves a piece of its terroir, so we can sense lots of things by only see the presentation of the wine. On the other hand, there is a piece of art by the Australian artist Michelle Kelly that recreates the form, colors, and layer structure of fungi. She works with different metals, surface treatments, and the results are great because we can perceive the characteristics of this fifth kingdom as the humidity and aromas by just seeing the installation. Okay, by this graphic, I would like to show the differences between wine drinking and wine tasting. Both begin with the detection of an external stimulus, for example, an aroma. Then the receptor transforms the stimuli into an electrical nerve impulse, so our system can respond from it. And then we have two kinds of answer, an informal one and a formal one. The informal one is the wine drinking, that is a subjective experience. For example, I drink a wine and I said that if I like it or I don't like it. And on the other hand, we have the formal experience, that is the wine tasting, that is an objective response. So by this wine tasting, we are going to analyze the wine by its attributes, if, for example, the smell, the taste, how it works by the palate, and everything else.
So, how to judge good or bad wines? That's not the question. We should ask ourselves how to taste wine, because what we need is to develop our skills. So, when we do not have expertise, we judge, and that's not good because we do it according to our tolerance level. So we get carried away according to our dislikes, and we easily conclude that wine is good or bad only based on that.
Okay, before we start with the techniques about how to taste wine, it's important to understand that the wine that is poured in our glasses depends on a different wine growing factors. And for sure, the wine will express these factors. These factors are the grapevine, the viticulture, the climate, and the winemaking process.
So the deductive method. We will talk about the steps that we have to follow to taste wine. So all our senses involved are look, smell, taste, and after that we have to make the conclusions, as we can see here. Why we put here, for example, why we talk about all our senses? Because even the sense of touch is involved. Why? Because the temperature in our tongue, for example, is the sense of touch. So we are going step by step here. So you know the look, and this is the first impression. So we have 5 different topics here. Well, we talk about the color, just to start. That's the easy part, and we will talk about that a little bit later. So we start with the clarity then. And here we talk about these small particles in wine. When the wine is kind of cloudy, and that could happen when the wine is, for example, unfiltered. So it's not about the quality of the wine. Brightness. When we talk about the brightness, sometimes it's associated to impurity because, but there are opaque wines, and they are good because opaque, something is sometimes is actually wanted, that kind of color. The viscosity is related to the alcohol content and could be affected by the temperature. So here also it's not about quality, it's about the glycerin and the dissolved soils in the wine. So here's the part when we talk about the tears or the legs in the wine. And at last we have effervescences, and we have still wines, sparkling wines, and some categories in the middle. But also some wines have little bubbles as part of a problem during the winemaking process, and that can turn into a problem in the future. So let's go easily one by one. What does the color of a wine tell us? Well, a lot of stuff. For example, the grape variety. For example, we have red wines, but actually some red wines are more purple, and that depends on the variety. Then we have the organic compounds. Here we talk about chemistry, pigments, and derivations. And then we have the maceration. In this part, we mean the skin contact during the fermentation. After that, we have the oak maturation. And in this part, is when the maturation in the barrel is not only to stop the tannin. I mean, if we will talk about this, the color later, but during the time affect the color of the wine. Naturally, the color needs oxygen to form stable phenolic compounds. So it's also something good, but affect the color. And about the age of the wine, well, in a chromatic evaluation, we can see how the color changes through the years. Okay. Here we have the color of white wines. So this is the color chart. You have some samples over here. But if we go forward, you will see also we have the color of red wines. And here we have also some color. And this is not all. This is actually a very small sample. The reality, you can see next, and it's a very big chart. So, well, we will see the evolution of the color as I mentioned some slides back. And now we can see the detail. Okay, let's see over here. Well, this is the evolution and different kind of wine, young and old red, and that one is the part that we are going to see next. So we can see what happened during the years. We have here, as you can see, an old Cabernet Sauvignon. That's the regular color in a young one. So very bright, as you can see. But we have the rim. Well, the rim is the surface area of wine that's in contact with the inside a glass. And in the old Cabernet, you can see how the color changed. So it's like a tile color, you can see. Okay, let's go to the clarity now. Well, I already mentioned this, but again, you have these particles. Here is due to the aging time and the non-filter characteristic, but there is something that we can take care during the wine service, so we don't have this inside the glass.
Okay, so the effects of temperature. It is important that we serve the wine at the correct level of temperature. We have balance of its attributes. Otherwise, if we have a very cold wine, we will perceive stronger acids, bitterness, etc. Okay, next, the smell. By the nose, we perceive a lot of characteristics about the wine. As we said, that it is the matrix compounds. Okay, first I would like to explain the definition about aroma. Aroma is a distinctive, pervasive, and usually pleasant or savory smell. Another thing that we have to consider is the absolute threshold. The absolute threshold is the minimum quantity of a compound to be perceived. Then we have the temperature factor, as I said before, that is very important to serve the wine at the correct temperature. And then by the nose, we could define the winemaking process, the grape variety, the age of the wine, etc. The olfactory system provides two ways for odors to be detected. This is the orthonasal olfaction and the retronasal olfaction. Directly through the nasal passage as a glass of wine is sniffed, this is the orthonasal olfaction. And on the other hand, we have the retronasal olfaction, that is as air circulates from the back of the mouth up into the olfactory area when wine is swallowed. So we perceive by the nose some aromas, and then as we have the wine inside our mouth, we perceive another aromas at the back. So aroma effects. We have enjoyable aromas as red plum jar, or dislike aromas that not always represent a wine fall. As an example, the famous bread odor. So wine aroma can be divided into 3 categories: primary, secondary, and tertiary. The primary aromas are from the grape variety. This shows the typicity of the grape, and it is related with all the fruity aromas that I'm going to talk later. And then the secondary aromas are related with the winemaking process, such as depends on the yeast and the malolactic fermentation. And then the tertiary classification depends on the wine aging, or how, for example, bottle aging, and that gives more complexity to the wine. The proportion, it's according to the defined profile of the wine. So, primary aromas. We have, for example, the distinct volatiles that are pyrazines and terpenes. For example, green pepper, pepper, asparagus, orange, all like the citrus family, for example, pomegranate, etc. Then we have, with the secondary and tertiary groups, we have more complexity on the wine. We have aromas like green apple, banana. On the tertiary, we have chocolate, coconut, vanilla, butter, cinnamon, etc. So to have a better understand to the to this wine aromas family, we have this tool that is the wine aroma wheel, that it will help you to understand all these kinds of group. For example, the ones from the tertiary group, that it comes from the maturation in oak. We have all like woods, nuts, spices, etc. So, and here I would like to talk about the taste and palate. That is, I like to say that it's an experimental luxury, because it's the only step on the tasting that you will have a very close relationship with the wine, because you're going to taste, you are going to drink the wine. So you have to drink it and to touch, and you have to have the wine inside your mouth. So you're going to feel it, you're going to have, as I said, a very close relationship, and that's an experimental luxury. So by the palate, we are going to perceive 5 flavors that are sweet, acidity, salty, bitter, and umami. By the tongue, we also we can perceive the volume of the wine, and it depends on the textures. If we feel like the wine have a great expression inside, it reflects that it has a very good texture. And then we also we are going to perceive the tannins. Okay, here is the taste map of the tongue. This is like the easiest way to practice. It is a little bit subjective and objective, because this is like a generally taste map of the tongue, but some people maybe will perceive the sweetness not only in the front part of the tongue, but usually we use this to show where you can usually perceive them. For example, okay, the sweet in the front, the acid on the in the sides, the bitterness at the back, and okay, umami in the center, and salty all in the also in the front of the tongue.
So let's talk about the famous tannins. What are tannins? Well, natural compounds of the grapes that we find in the skin, seeds, and also the stem, but also in the wine, because oak is given some tannins as well. So, well, tannins makes the tongue dry out. And also there's a bitter sensation in the mouth after you swallow. So it's feel as a texture. Well, as a sample, so you can think easily in these tannins. Well, try to think in a bite of a green banana peel, or the taste of a tea bag squeeze. Okay. Let's continue with the alcohol. Well, the alcohol, we can feel it first in the nose as a heat. We sommeliers, we get used to taste, and of course we can guess the percentage of the alcohol that we can find in the wine, and we know how to serve the wine according to this. But for example, well, the rest of you, for example, and if you're learning also, you want to know, you will know when the alcohol is high, when you feel it right in the back of the throat. Okay, so that's the easy way to understand the alcohol. So at the end of the blind wine tasting, if we follow all these steps, we can have some conclusions. So for example, we can define if the wine is from the old world or from the new world, the country of origin, also the specific zone, the appellation, and more information about the place that the wine is coming from. Also the climate conditions of the place. Well, it depends on the fruit conditions. So ripe fruit, for example, or fresh fruit. So all these characteristics, we can say something about the climate. So depend also about the sensation that we can find in the taste of the wine, that we can define, for example, the soil. That has to do, for example, with the acidity of the wine. And of course, we can guess the variety, the vintage, probably not the exactly year, but a range of years. And also, if that year was cool or warm. So it's very specific information. And finally, we conclude the price of the wine, based in the quality and all the information that we have from before, so we can infer also the range of the price. Okay.
Perfect.
We have here, yes, yeah, we continue with the wine trends, and Valentina will tell you more about it.
Okay, wine trends. Here I would like to set a phrase from Coco Chanel that is, it's not the appearance, it's the essence, it's not the money, it's the education, it's not the clothes, it's the class. So nowadays we have a great variety of wine labels, and it is important not to judge them by the appearance, but by the essence of the wine. So people need to know about wine industry, and for example about know about the different type of corks and its uses, etc.
Here we have some sample of tasting sheets. So we use this to taste wine, to take some notes, and are also very specific. So it's like to have more practice and also to infer in a very easy way all the information about the wine. So here we have this very informal and some that more formal and from very qualified certifications. For example, we have, yes, in the next slide, we have this one from the Court of the Master Sommelier. So it's with a lot of information, as you can see, very specific. And also we have this different because it's for another kind of professional, but also related with the wine industry. And this is from the WSET or Wine and Spirit Education Trust. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so today I'm showing this wine tasting with an Argentinian white wine. This is a white blend from Uco Valley made by Oid Mortal. So to analyze this white wine, I used the tasting sheet from the Court of Master Sommelier. This grid combines the appreciation of color, aromas, and structure of the wine. So, by the color, I perceive a very pale yellow with a strong gold hue. By the nose, some citrus and pomegranate and lemon are perceived. Also, a little bit of herbs like thyme, a touch of honey that gives a great balance by the nose. It is a dry wine with a moderate plus acid and moderate alcohol. I will recommend to pair this wine with a ginger glazed pork, green apple chutney, and a smashed potatoes.
Well, I choose this red wine from Uruguay. This is a Merlot from Canelones. So we actually simplify here the tasting sheet. So that I can see from this wine is a very deep red ruby color with fruity aromas, most of them red, like compote fruit, like red plum, strawberries, some sweet spices like cinnamon, some laurel also, and earthy notes. So, well, if we talk about the taste, actually it's medium tannin, medium acidity, medium alcohol, a lot like a Merlot, as you can see, and a long finish for sure is from a moderate climate. And I will go for a 16 to 18 Celsius degrees temperature for the service. And I will pair this with a grilled meat, some chicken or turkey, with the stewed vegetables on a side, something very easy to eat, and some pizza will be good as well. Mm-hmm. Oh, pairing is a very important actually topic here. What is it, the pairing actually? Well, when we talk about wine and food pairing or matching, we refer to a balance between both. It's actually the experience of finding the perfect partners. So here we have three types of pairing. Harmony, well, in which we have some element of the wine that match or create a connection with the dish, like the lemon in the salad with citrus wine, for example. Then we have the contrast. Well, it's a very classic and cliche and very easy to be understand sample, and it's the sweet wine with a contrasting flavor, like a late harvest with blue cheese. And at last, we have the regional, which is based in the principle that said that as they grow in the same place, they are a good match. So as example, we can say, for example, the Malbec from Argentina or Tanat from Uruguay with the regional barbecue or asado. And now we have another kind of pairing, and it's the molecular one. And this is a special mention. It's very specific, something a bit trendy now, and involve a very known sommelier. His name is François Chartier, and he's been researching the molecular harmonies because he has the aromatic theory that when combining ingredients with aromatic molecules of the same family, the result is greater than the sum of its parts. So we have some samples here. So the first picture with the yellow color on top, well, that one is a foie gras with a terrine with a rose petal, ginger, lychee, pepper, and that one could go with a Gewürztraminer because they share many aromatic compounds with this rose, ginger, and the lychee. Then the second picture with the asparagus, well, that one goes with a vinaigrette without vinegar. So it's a vinaigrette made with tea, with a Lapsang Souchong tea, and the tea heated with the vegetables browned goes well with a red barrel raised wine. Well, why? Because they share the same aromatic universe. Then we have on the left side down the tomato, basil, and olive oil soup, like a gazpacho, very similar to a gazpacho. And this one goes well with a rosé wine. Again, share the same path. And the last one, wow, that's a muesli. So just to give you an idea of this big universe, and goes very far from wine. And this molecule are shared with milk, also with the oolong tea. So it's the perfect breakfast. But we can go creative and use it for dessert. And then we cannot use only wine. We can go for spirits. Mm-hmm.
Okay, the wine sounds. As this is an invitation to enjoy the wine with our 5 senses, we would like to share with you a little bit about the sounds that the wine expresses, not only by the toast, but also by itself. So here I will invite you to listen a beautiful song that it's called Chardonnay, that is a song that expresses, it's more than a song, it's a melody about this grape variety. So I hope you enjoyed it. A beautiful melody.
Okay, so this is the end. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope you enjoy our presentation. Please feel free to leave us a comment and questions, and we hope to share a new event with all of you very soon. So bye-bye.
Bye-bye.